we're looking for, and we teach people to look for, um, mom and pop owned value add opportunities.
Hmm.
We find those where the big boys don't play because they can't play in the secondary, tertiary, rural markets. And there's plenty of really good, steady income to buy there and grow there.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer, and excited to have Joe Downs with me. Joe, how are you doing?
Great, Ty. Great to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you being on the show. And a little bit about Joe. He's from the Belrose Group, and they offer both active and passive investment opportunities within the self-storage asset class. And we're going to dive in, and I want to talk about, pro storage, what you talked about before we got on the show, self-storage, and kind of what you're doing, what you're seeing as currently what's going on in the self-storage industry, and then what's exciting moving forward. So, Joe, with that said, give our listeners just a little bit more about your background. We'll dive in.
Yeah, sure. Well, what I learned years ago was that I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I learned that just by looking back at how I got to where I am. It was not by design. So my journey took me, starting college, the bulk of what I did, I was a financial advisor.
Hmm.
I voluntarily left that actually to open a bar and restaurant because every 30-year-old guy should, and failed. That was failure point number one, or reinvention point number one, but based on failure. Then I was in selling radio, talk radio, it's advertising for talk radio, which led me into real estate through some clients. And all was going well. And then 2008 and 2009 happened. I was in the 1031 exchange, tenant and common syndication business, actually.
Hmm.
I raised a lot of money for multifamily and office buildings. Then they were all done as syndications, and my clients were exchanging.
Yeah.
And then '08 and '09 happened, and I was reinventing again. Um, Made my way, always did something in real estate, but made my way shortly into the distressed debt business. Started a company with a partner buying charged off second mortgages on residential properties.
Hmm.
People told us we were nuts. We still have that business, but there. So we started that in 2010 formally, and we still have it today. But 5, 6 years into that business, banks stopped selling debt because of
Yep.
the regulations that were put onto them. So I had to reinvent again. And that's when I fell shortly thereafter. Again, still doing other things, originating loans, hard money, just stuff on the side to 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 keep the lights on. And thank God I had a wife with a great job during those periods of reinvention. And that's like the entrepreneur's saga, right?
Yeah.
There's always a great woman behind
Yeah.
it.
That's what it takes.
And and then now, 7 years into self storage, because that's when I found self storage, is when I had to reinvent again. Hopefully, I'm done reinventing, and I'm not done reinventing.
Yeah.
Let me say it differently. Hopefully, I'm done reinventing, but I'm not done inventing, because I'm having a lot of fun and going into different niches within self storage, and so that's been a lot of fun, and so here I am. And again, hopefully you don't have to reinvent. But if I do, look, I told you I'm from Philly, so I'll throw some Rocky at you. It's not about how hard you get knocked down. It's about how you get back up. So,
Yeah. I love that.
um, that's by. I don't think it was by choice. Certainly in the beginning, it was by necessity. Had to survive and pay the rent and eat, right? But
Yeah, but
uh,
that created who you are today. I like how you said that. You got to have a good person behind you, and so that you know, I didn't go through maybe it's quite the turmoil, but uh, man, my entrepreneur journey would have been totally different if I didn't have my wife that had a full-time job and was
yeah, the
was
steady rock, the
the
insurance,
steady. Yep,
yeah.
yep,
You could take a little risk. You go a little further out on that plank
exactly.
because, that someone had the family.
Yep. You have that kind of, hey, you can. You can fall a little bit because we still have this. So, what did you learn from the bar and restaurant, that first one that you did early on? Bar and restaurant, tough business. I don't talk to a lot of people that suggest owning a bar and restaurant. What'd you learn from that business?
Well, before I tell you what I learned, I will say this: anyone who owns a bar and restaurant, and more in particular, the people that multiply them and open up multiple
Hmm.
locations, have my utmost respect and admiration because that is one tough business. What I learned is actually, it's funny. It's almost like it was almost like this was scripted because I do have a saying from that experience. Because you're either I learned this later in life. You're always I didn't know how to put a label on what I went through during that time, but you're always either losing or learning. And when things don't go well, so I chose the learning route. And what I learned from that, because I did lose a lot of money and a lot of pride, and it was a
Yeah.
tough period. Um, what I learned was in reflection of what went wrong was I wasn't minding my kitchen, meaning the reason I even had the opportunity was because I'd already always bartended. So you could say the writing was on the wall. I was always an entrepreneur because I was always, I had the daytime job, a nighttime job, and I was probably always, two or three side hustles, always
Yep.
going on. And so it was always I bartended for 10 years. And the bar that I ended up buying got shut down. It was a college bar. And it got shut down for obvious reasons that we don't, you can guess what the reasons were. But they had to reopen it as a bar and restaurant, and they couldn't own it. So I was the owner. They had I had their support and backing, but it was my business. And I didn't know how to run a kitchen. I didn't know the first thing about it. I knew of the bar. I knew everything that happened in the bar, ordering, pricing,
Yep.
specials, how to drive traffic, all of that. I knew that cold, but I had no idea what was going on in the kitchen. So one of my sayings is, regardless of your business, you have to mind your kitchen. So the kitchen for me was the operations, which ultimately sunk me.
Hmm.
Um, and that's true in any business, whether it's self storage or collecting debt or running multifamily or even single family
Yep. Yep.
rental business. You have to understand the operations inside and out. What's going to hurt you? Where the money's made? Where the money's lost? More importantly, when to cut bait. So I trusted all of that to the chef, who because I didn't know the first thing about it, and I never bothered to learn. I just assumed it was going well, and look, I shouldn't be in the kitchen. I shouldn't be on the grill. I shouldn't be doing the food ordering, but I should know what's going on
Yeah.
and
Because otherwise, you don't know when it's going good or bad.
right.
Like,
And you don't know how to control
I know.
costs and say, hey, look,
Yeah.
I know you want to order all of these items and they will look great as specials and on the menu, but we got a lot of waste going on here. And by the way, there was food walking out the door at one point in
Hmm.
backpacks. And, if you don't know what's going on in whatever your operation is, you're going to fail.
Yep.
That's what I learned. And that's my life lesson is you got to mind your kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a great lesson. And I think, especially for real estate investors, is that to me, a lot of real estate investors just focus on the purchase, right? They're focused so much on, hey, we're going to buy this problem. Look at the deal we're getting. And they forget that it's more than just buying the right deal in the right location. I mean, those are key ingredients to it. You definitely want the right deal. You want the right location. You want the right, but you have to also have the right business plan and then know how to understand the operations and know how to work the operations. If you don't do that, all of that other cute stuff means nothing.
Yeah. Everyone knows the saying, the money's made on the buy,
Yeah.
but no one ever talks about where it can be lost or is lost, and that's in the operations.
Yep.
So you can buy it right and not operate it well, and what's the difference?
Yep.
Someone has to execute the numbers in the pro forma,
Let's talk
assuming
about,
assuming they're executable.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, that's probably key number one. You got to make sure that your business plan is actually something that can actually be executed on, right? Let's talk about self storage and
Yeah.
what's important for you in self storage to be able to make sure that you're making the money. Let's talk about operations side. What are some of the key ingredients in your business to be successful?
In the operations of self storage. Well, I mean, it does start with, did you buy in the right market? So for us, the underwriting is critical.
Yep.
And, we have a saying, a great manager, or so let's start this way: a bad manager, a bad property manager will do fine in a great market. A
Mm.
great manager is not going to survive a bad market. So for us, it does start at the acquisition, but then
Well, that's
from
true in any
there,
business, right? I mean, if you have
yeah,
if you have a restaurant, it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's just like
yeah,
it's or it's just in a bad part of town, like nobody wants to go to that, or if it's a horrible looking building, like it's still a lot to do with where it's at, but
for
still,
sure.
right?
And the demographics around it, not just
Yeah,
location, but the
yeah.
median household incomes and the population, et cetera. But
Are you looking at self storage? How important when you talk about location? How important is visibility from major thoroughfares?
it depends. It used to be critical.
Okay.
Today we're finding, if you look at who your traditional customer is, or the not traditional, the bulk of your customers today, or a large segment, not the bulk even. I'm going to walk everything I just said back. The 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 largest segment of your customers are actually millennials.
Really?
And it doesn't hurt if they can drive by and see your sign, but that's not how they're finding you. They're
Yeah.
finding you on their
Yeah.
phones.
Right.
So is it important? Sure. I would always rather be at Main and Main and still have an amazing digital presence.
Hmm.
But plenty of our facilities do really well not being at Main and Main, but having a great digital presence.
Hmm.
So it used to be critical. It's less critical today. It used to be important to be AAA in the yellow pages,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
A. At one point there was like A Aardvark or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Plumbing. Okay, that
Yeah.
location, just like it's critical to be on the top three spots in Google, right? That Main and Main is now all about where you are in Google or
That's your
where you are in the
traffic.
SEO search. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the
Yeah.
the the physical
Millennials are really
locations
your
changed.
top, huh? I would have expected baby boomers to be the top self storage demographic just because they love their crap. But
They
the
are right there
millennials,
with baby boomers, but baby boomers are they're not only there, they're your growth engine because they're your future.
yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Um, so okay, so location is
They
important,
also, can
but
I just add this in there? They
yeah,
also use storage at a three x. Their generation uses storage three times as much as mine.
who's which generation?
Millennials,
Millennials.
yeah,
Why is
and the
that? Because I
generations under them are expected to use it even more.
really,
It's part of a way of life at this point. Whereas
what do
I'm
you
Gen
mean
X. I don't know
by
how I'm.
that? Because it feels like as the younger generations maybe have less crap. Well, you know what I
Don't.
mean? Like they just don't. They're not hoarders like the other generations were. And maybe I probably am completely wrong. It's just what I do. Um, so what is keeping them in the self storage and bringing them back to it?
What generation are you?
I'm technically probably millennial,
Okay.
like the oldest millennials there are.
All right. I'm X, and we are first of all the smallest generation.
Yeah.
But that just, so the numbers are way down, but that it doesn't talk about the percentage penetration of usage. We're at like a 10%. We're like the national average. Millennials are at 30, pushing 30,
Wow.
and expected to grow, and Z is expected to be even more than that. Why? You're making the contention. You must be an older millennial. You
Yeah.
got you got some X in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I got
uh,
gray hair for sure. Yeah.
yeah. So you're borrowing some of our principles, even
yeah.
though your age suggests you're in a different generation. But you're right. So for me, I've never rented storage.
Yeah,
I
neither do
probably
I.
never. I probably never will. I have an attic, a basement, and a garage, which is part of it. So I feel like if
True.
I need storage, I'm probably a hoarder. Earmuffs, if that offends you, We love anyone who likes to store stuff. But um, the next generation wants to consume all the same amount of stuff that we do. So that's where they are buying the same amount of stuff,
Hmm.
but they're living in smaller houses or they're
Hmm.
taking longer to buy houses. So they're
Yeah, they're
living
living
in
in their apartment
apartments
still.
or at
Yeah.
home, but they're accumulating stuff along the way. So they are using storage as part of their more of their daily general use. Like maybe that's where the mountain bike is, or the kayak, or the whatever. Um, in addition to that, when they are living in apartments, they're choosing the newer stock apartments, and the newer stock are all smaller. The unit sizes are smaller. There's less storage space. There's less everything, and there's more and more and more units. So they're forced to use storage. It's
Yeah.
almost like even if you're living suburban or more rural or tertiary, even in a multifamily, and
Yeah.
you know this, you're in the multifamily
Yeah.
business. You see what's being built. You're living more of a New York apartment lifestyle than
Right.
you are
For sure.
the old stock. What are they called? The old Cardinal or what are those
Yeah.
style
Yeah. The
communities?
Cardinals
Right.
and yeah.
So much more spacious.
Right.
That older stock.
Right. That makes sense. It, probably too, I mean, I'm just thinking like millennials and the younger generations, they move a lot more too. And
They do.
so I would think they would just be using storage because they're moving from place to place in the same town, even. I mean,
In
they're
the same
just
town.
moving.
So once you've established where that unit is, you might move around it,
Yep.
but the unit stays
But the unit
because
stays.
it's where your mountain bike and your kayak is,
Right.
and your grandmother's dresser that still doesn't fit in the apartment that you don't want to let go of or whatever it is.
That's funny. Um, are you urban, suburban, rural? Is there one that you prefer more than the other? Is there one that you think performs better than the other, or maybe there's just better opportunity
It's
in
the latter.
rural, more
It's the
rural?
latter. So there's a saying we have. I borrowed it. If you want to beat Tiger Woods at something, you can. Just don't play him in golf. So our Tiger Woods are the REITs, the institutional players. They own the urban. They own major suburban, so major markets. I'm outside of Philadelphia. It would be very hard to find a mom and pop owned storage facility in the immediate suburbs of Philadelphia. And
Yeah,
if I could, that I could afford to make work from an acquisition and cash flow perspective, because even they would know what their value is. Like their buyer, if it's still a mom and pop owned, is going to be an institutional player that has a much different capital stack than I do. We're looking for, and we teach people to look for, um, mom and pop owned value add opportunities.
hmm.
We find those where the big boys don't play because they can't play in the secondary, tertiary, rural markets. And there's plenty of really good, steady income to buy there and grow there.
Yeah, yeah. Are you talking like still part of the urban uh sprawl, the far out urban sprawl, or are you talking like farms, towns of 2,000, 3,000 people, like, or all, or both of them?
You could have towns of 5,000 in your 5 mile radius. Remember, we didn't cover this, but storage is very local. It's a 1, 3, 5 mile market, mostly 3 and 5 miles, what we look at, or a 10 to 15 minute drive time.
So that's
So
who your demographic, you want your demographic to be within a 10 to 15-minute drive time.
yeah, when we talk about population, median household income, crime rate, poverty, supply index, we're talking in that. Let's just put a wrapper of 15-minute drive time on it,
Yeah.
and anything inside of that radius. So where do they exist? Yeah, I think we own one that's that rural. It's in Macon, North Carolina. I don't. There's not even a competitor within 5 miles.
Hmm.
I don't have the population off the top of my head, but it wouldn't shock me if the population in 5 miles was 5 or 10,000 or something like that.
Okay.
It's not ideal, but you can buy facilities that do very well, just kind of slow and methodical if you find the right demographics nearby. And
Yeah.
so, for instance, that one's near Lake Gaston, so there's a vacation element to it, right? And same thing with vacation storage facilities. You're not talking huge. amazing demographics. I have a house in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. It's a mountainous, the Pocono Mountains, right? So you got
Yep.
fishing, hunting. People live there year round, but it's a very common second home destination.
Yeah.
The demographics of storage facilities there, when compared to, let's say, even I'll stay in the same state and I'll go an hour away and say suburbs of Harrisburg or even Harrisburg, Pennsylvania itself, a tertiary market, the capital of the
Hmm.
state, but a tertiary market. The demographics in the Poconos make no sense, but yet they expand and they grow. Well, it's because you have this other element there, but
Yeah.
that's outside of the norm. The norm of what we look at, sticking with let's say Harrisburg, is at least a steady population, an opportunity to buy a mom and pop that isn't managing it well, and then the ability to grow that. I can't do that. I can do everything but buy it right where I live in the suburbs of Philadelphia. So three different examples, all one state, all within an hour and a half, by the way. So
Hmm.
I can't buy and then effectuate when I want to basically create value in the suburbs of Philadelphia with my capital stack, but I could do it in the Poconos if I could get one of them to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can definitely do it in the areas like a Harrisburg, those tertiary markets,
Yeah.
where I can find an old mom and pop, a 75-year-old who's owned it forever. It's just been a cash cow.
Yep.
They don't really manage it like an institution
Yep.
that like we do. We're not an institution, but we manage it like an institution. When we're done with it, it's turnkey. We could sell it to an institutional player. That's where those opportunities exist more so than we can find and make money with our capital stacks and the students we teach how to do this. You just can't do it in the major urbans. That doesn't mean the major urban areas aren't amazing. They are for those companies. They just aren't for us. We can't play in that sandbox.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. You can play Tiger Woods in something, just not golf, right? So
Yeah. I
same
don't know
type of
how he
deal.
is at chess. Maybe I could beat him at chess, but
Yeah. Right.
I'm not going to beat him on the golf course.
Yeah. So mom and pa, you mentioned these mom and pas that aren't managing well. I mean, I think everybody listening can picture a property, whether it's a multifamily or a self storage or whatever it might be, mobile home park, whatever it might be, that was owned by a mom and pa that you're like, man, I wish I would have bought that property. Um, so what are you doing when you're
You're
buying a
so
property to change it? How are you operating it differently than a mom and pa, more like an institution?
love that question, but I first you're so Minnesota. The pa. I'm going mom and pop. I'm East Coast, Northeast,
Yeah,
Yankee,
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
whatever
You
you
know,
whatever you guys call us.
I'm part Canadian, so
You're
basically.
like I feel like I'm talking to Mr. Ingles in Little House on the Prairie. Um, that's a compliment, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Um,
sure. I don't know why it wouldn't be. So,
so I who did love Little House on the Prairie. Um, so here's the classic. Like if this is like if I could check every box of what I want in a seller,
mhm.
it's in the conversation. He says to me, "We're the lowest rates in town. We're always full. Our customers love us." Um, and then you start talking about the facility. And by the way, the rates are painted on the side of the building,
Mm,
meaning they don't change very often.
yep.
There's no website, and then what we find out is she, whoever, and their family have 3 to 5 units that they use, so there's no income coming from them. There's always a church that has 2 to 3 units, no income from that. Uh, You do with that as the buyer or whoever, if you're listening, you're in the business, you want to go in the business, you do with the church what you will. I'm just saying there's no income coming from those units. I'm
Yep.
just pointing
Yep.
it out. Um, there's always 5 to 10 units where they just haven't gotten around to fixing the doors or the springs on the doors, so they're vacant. And then there's usually 5 to 10 units with customers that have been there forever, but they haven't paid in 6 months to 2 years. But don't worry, they're good for it. And of course, late fees are always waived and all that stuff, right? So you add all that up,
Yeah.
and you're looking at 15 I'm being conservative, but 15 to 20 units with absolutely no revenue,
Yep.
with a facility in a market that's undersupplied. All the competitors are full. They're 20% or more below market, do no advertising, and haven't changed rates in years. Like,
Lots of low hanging fruit.
that's my creme de la creme scenario. Now, have I gotten that? Yes, we have. Is that the norm? No, but multiple of those. If I just laid out five, six, seven,
Yeah.
eight
You can have
criteria,
one or two things.
that was the holy grail. There's commonly three or four. Half of them
Yeah.
you find all the time,
Hmm.
maybe different ones, but
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean, by the way, it doesn't mean that the facility isn't beautiful. A lot of times they're the nicest, well
Mm.
kept, maintained from a physical standpoint storage
Yeah.
facilities because they're their babies and
Yeah.
they
They're
might
there all the time, probably.
yep, a lot of times they might have beautiful flower garden boxes out front, like
Mowing
Easter
all the
Sunday
time.
move-in specials, or I don't know. I'm making it up,
Yeah.
but like very, very like one guy in New York had a produce stand. He used to run and operate, and then he leased it out. And the only time I ran up against one of the big boys and won when I was still trying, we gave up on that a long time ago. We beat U-Haul
Hmm.
out of a facility in New York,
Hmm.
not because we were paying more, not because they were going to pay cash. I don't $6.5 million. I don't have cash. Um, he seller financed it to us.
Wow.
He took it on. He could have just walked with $6.5 million from U-Haul or more, I think, if he pushed him. But they were going to get rid of his produce stand that he started 30
He
years ago
he
there,
wanted it or
and he
wanted
wanted
it to
it
still
kept
be there.
there. And he asked me what I would do with it, and I just kind of read the situation. I was like, well, does it bring traffic to the property? He's like, yeah. It was kind of in his dead end kind of corner.
Yeah.
Not maybe he could park an RV there or something, but it wasn't going to bring in what the produce stand was going to bring in. So there was no reason to get rid of it at all, and it made him happy to know that his little baby was going to survive.
That's funny.
No brainer.
That right there explains the mom and pop
Yep.
right
You
there.
could say pa.
No, no, don't worry. I got it. I got it fixed. That right there explains it, right? It's not a lot of times it's not necessarily about anything other than what are you going to do with my place? Because this is my baby. Like we've owned this forever. We want to make sure it's sold to good people.
Yeah. When I teach people this business, I talk to them about you're building a relationship, that
Yes.
rapport, and they may not want to sell next month, and that's okay. The last couple deals we just did, I started the relationship 3 years ago. You got to build a pipeline too.
Yep.
Along the way, you'll find someone that's ready to sell, but you want to be building that rapport and that pipeline because it's a business on commercial real estate. But when you're talking to mom and pops or pas, I don't want to confuse soda pop with mom and pop. You get it. But when you're talking to them, it's more like a residential transaction than you realize.
Yeah.
Even though it's
For
a
sure.
commercial, we're looking at it spreadsheets and cap rates and numbers and
And those are all
NOIs.
important.
They're important. Like deal has to work. But when you step onto the other side and you step into their shoes, they're selling their livelihood, their cash flow, what they built, the
Yeah.
customers they used to see every day, the decorating, no joke, the decorating for Easter or Halloween or Christmas or whatever the holiday is. They're putting out because it's their baby.
Yeah.
It's how they showed themselves to the town that they're in. It's how
Yeah.
it was their public profile. And
Yeah.
if you don't recognize that as part of that conversation negotiation, you're going to lose if someone like me comes along and does.
Yep. Well, and that's there's a big differentiator too between buying in the big city and the urban core versus buying in a more rural area, because the urban core people, like, they don't care. They're
No,
looking at the paycheck and that's it when they
dollars,
sell. The rural people,
pride.
it's just totally different motivation. All right. Let's any other operational things that you do that you think when you take over a property makes a big difference. We obviously, you mentioned no website, so I'm assuming you're putting together a really nice website. What else are you doing on a typical deal that can really add a lot of value? Fencing, building new buildings, like what are a couple things that you do?
Well, certainly in terms of adding value, certainly we look for opportunities to expand, and we've done that a number of times because that's just free land, and if the demand's there and you know if it's there or growing, then that's just an opportunity to expand your operation and
Sure.
certainly add a lot of value. The things we do physically are very different than you guys do in the multifamily space because it's very visual what you do. It's
Yeah.
not everyone because everyone's either done it, they've lived in apartments or houses,
Yep.
or they've seen enough HGTV to know yes, you can increase value when you change out Formica for granite or whatever. I'm not.
Yep.
We don't need to go through the litany. For us, from a physical standpoint, it's not as obvious to the customer, but it actually matters because
Hmm.
we can advertise it. Things like security and lighting at night. Like we can advertise that we've improved this or done that, and we can do it prior to then raising rates because then raising rates makes sense
Yep.
to the customer.
Yep.
Like, oh well, they did this or they did that. And then there's other things we do like, well, a lot of these facilities are gravel, not paved. So what does it look like? Is it 50-50 gravel and grass, or so we can certainly make it prettier. I can't believe I'll use the word prettier in relation to gravel, but it does improve the look.
Oh yeah.
But also the functionality, things like if it rains, is there always a puddle
Yeah.
outside
Is
my
it a big
unit?
mud
Is it
puddle?
annoying? Is it muddy? Is it,
Yep.
do I want to go? So we can do that. We can add bollards on corners, which is really more to protect us. Um, the fencing, does the gate work? Is it automatic? A lot of times you buy a facility where it's a chain link fence with a lock on it, and here's the code. It's like, well, is that what you want to drive into? You
Yeah.
got to get out of your
Gotta
car.
get out of your car.
Remember a
It's
padlock code?
raining.
Yeah. So we'll put an automatic key with a keypad.
Yep.
The little stuff like that customers appreciate. Indirectly, it doesn't lead to, it doesn't, you're not taking a $900 a month 2 bedroom to $1,800 a month by adding a gate. Uh, you know, you could do that by new kitchens and bathrooms.
Yep.
I'm not going from
It's gonna
$100 a
cost a
month
lot
to
more though.
true. And that's, well, we won't get into
Yeah.
that. So there's certain things we can do that, yes, we can increase the revenue. So operationally they look better, but there's certain things we just have to do that indirectly. It'd be hard to monetize. What does more security cameras mean?
Yeah.
What does more lighting at night mean? Well, it does mean women who are the drivers of
Mm.
making that decision feel better about going to your facility.
Mm.
But how do I
Very
how do I
true.
quantify it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know it helps. I know it matters, but I don't know. It's hard to measure the ROI.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Um, I want to talk about pro storage. You mentioned that pro storage. What is pro storage, and why are you excited about pro storage?
One of the things I say to our students all the time, when they come to our academy, is self storage is what brought you here, but it's all the storage adjacents that make this business so much fun and so exciting. And one of them is pro storage. And if you consider, we call self storage retail storage,
Yeah.
and we do that so that we mentally know the difference between pro storage and retail storage.
Yeah.
Retail or self storage is B2C, business to consumer. You do have businesses renting from you at every self storage facility. There's always businesses that have uses to store stuff, but it's not really ideal for them.
Yep.
And we bought a facility actually that was called contractor storage, and in buying it, we realized that all right, well, 80% of the customers are contractors and businesses, not even all contractors. The guy who built it was a plumber. He built them for himself and his friends, and then kept expanding it. This is in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I don't know the exact mix, but 80% is contractor and business. It's not all 80% contractor. And then the other 20% were boat and RVs, and then guys with toy cars or whatever. So
Hmm.
we saw, especially when you consider the changing landscape with how our goods are delivered today, and we're all guilty of this with Amazon and Walmart and e-commerce. right? They're gobbling up warehouses everywhere. We've all seen them building the mega warehouses, distribution centers, regionally off of highways, but they're also gobbling up the more local warehouses, 50, 100,000 square feet that used to house a lot of businesses and contractors. So we believed that there is a growing demand for this space. Certainly, you can see it in the growth of small bay flex, which also serves a lot of the same purpose.
Yep.
But pro storage is just that. It's B2B storage. It's 500 to 1,000 square foot units with 14-foot ceilings that you can drive your truck with ladders on top into, or an RV into.
So you're doing like
uh,
10-foot garage doors or height
12 and a half,
12 and a half.
14-foot ceilings, 12 and a half foot, whatever the max height is on the highway is the height of our garage door. I think it's 12 and a half if I'm
12
not
and a half
mistaken.
sounds right. Yep.
Yeah, okay, it's 12 and a half. So you can drive in, if you can drive on a highway in whatever vehicle, you can drive into one of our units.
Hmm.
They're not, like I said, the two-bedroom apartment of self-storage is the 10 by 10.
Yep.
It's 10 feet wide, 10 feet deep. These are minimum 12 feet wide, usually 15 feet wide. They're 20, 25, 40, 50 feet deep, depending on the unit size. So it's a business use case or a high net worth C, like someone who has an RV, a nice RV, or
Mm.
a boat they want to store out of the elements
Yep.
in a
Yep.
fully enclosed, probably conditioned environment, from a climate control perspective. That's what it is. There's a growing demand for it, we believe, everywhere. And so we just launched our first project. I was just there for the groundbreaking a couple weeks ago.
You're building this ground up.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
building it. Really exciting. So I don't even think the first building's complete, but we're building 90,000 square feet in Greenville, South Carolina. Town is
Mm.
booming.
Yeah.
We've
Definitely a
got
great town.
we've got dirt under contract closer to us, actually, in just outside of Atlantic City, New Jersey, in Egg Harbor Township, right at the intersection of two highways, two
Mm.
major thoroughfares out of New York and Philadelphia. They meet right at this intersection. We're right at that cloverleaf,
Hmm.
so we're excited about that one. And then we're already looking for more dirt in Greenville because there's just a huge buzz down there for this product coming. We had commercial real estate brokers down there. They think they can lease the whole. It's only 137 units, and they think they'll lease it up
Wow.
very quickly to the point where we're looking for more land there. And I honestly think, look, we didn't invent this concept. Just like Home Depot didn't invent the concept of the hardware store, but they're the first national hardware store brand. National, I know there were regionals, and I think that's our intentions here, is to take the Store Pro brand nationally. Wish me luck, cross your fingers.
Yeah.
But
That's great.
yeah, but 7 years ago I didn't even know what self storage was. 8 years ago, it's crazy where these things can lead if you just have an open mind and are curious about stuff. And
What's cool is you're taking a niche, which is self storage, and you're actually taking it within the niche, and you're not creating, but you're now building your business around a more specialized niche in pro storage. And like you said, these are 500 to 1,000 square foot. Are these businesses? Do you have business owners that'll actually not only store stuff in there, but use it as like a workshop too?
so, not in this model. It's a different use and occupancy, which has advantages both from a build cost perspective, but also um, uh, getting open, leasing up and getting open. So we're not in this version,
Yep.
but I can see future versions of Store Pros where you have some units that are just storage and some units that are more like small bay flex. But then in those buildings, you're running sprinklers, you're adding
Yep.
bathrooms.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
a use case for it. Small bay flex is huge right now, and I'm not saying what we're doing is better, because we plan on doing both. But we
Yeah.
do see a need for
It's
this
different.
product, and this is kind of a basic product, and we see a need for it.
Yeah.
Call it the cargo van of what we're doing, because there's less amenities, bells and whistles. By the way, this product exists out there, and there are companies that are doing it that are like luxury, and they're
Hmm.
selling them as condos.
Yeah.
So you can
I've
just
seen
buy
those.
them. Right. So, and they've got, beautiful lounges and, kitchens in the lounge, not just a
Hmm.
bathroom. And, this is where you and your buddies want to hang out and talk about your Bugatti or whatever
Yeah.
you're storing in the place.
Well, that's what I was
So
going to say. That's a whole nother niche right there. I've seen these,
it
they're
is.
like toy storage, right? It's like
Yeah.
these people have their Bugattis, high end cars, and they
Yep.
drive in. Of course, they're totally different. They're a luxury. You're not driving into gravel, driving into,
Yeah.
nicely
Well,
paved
we
and
won't be gravel
polished.
either.
And
We'll be a paved
yeah, on this
Class
one,
A product,
right.
but we're going to be a Home Depot, Walmart product compared
Yeah.
to some sort of luxury brand, right?
Yeah.
It's just a different use case, right? And then in between, you have Small Bay Flex, where some people will need to work there and they will need an office.
Hmm.
That's not what we built here. We'll have a community clubhouse. We'll have a community bathroom. We're the especially with AI and the digital transformation that's happening. We're the place where we're the father and son electrician team that does
Yeah.
the accounting from the dining room table or outsources it, all the
Yep.
billing. And they just need a place to store their
Just want to
their
store their
van,
stuff.
their equipment, their inventory to
Yep.
come and go out of there every day. Or
Yep.
look at the catering company. I love this use case. And there's a million like it, but I love telling the catering company story. Catering companies need retail storefronts to meet clients. It's got to be nice. It's got to be an office. You got to sell the wedding, to sell the corporate event
Yep.
in a nice office space. They don't, that's 30, 35, $40 a square foot, depending on where you are
Right.
for that space with the
And they
foot
don't need a lot
traffic
of
and the
it.
signage and the main and main address, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to pay 30, 35, $40 a foot to store racks of glasses of dishes and tables and chairs,
Yeah. Good
right?
point.
That's where you need, and you don't need an office there. You just need a mini warehouse. Storage used to be called mini warehouses. We're actually creating in Store Pro mini warehouses. That's
Yeah.
what we're creating.
Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, look, if you got a business there's a ton of businesses out there like that. Like they don't need a big presence. They need a
No.
storefront at,
Yeah.
like you said, at
And the
Main and
and the
Main.
other advantage is Small Bay Flex. You're typically 3 year because of that cost structure. Maybe you get away with a 1 year lease, but they're typically 3 year leases and they're triple net.
Yeah.
We
Hmm.
will we will negotiate a longer lease at our place, but our contracts are meant to be month to month. We're truly meant to be storage. So we'll have that flexibility to start a business, to flex your business up or down seasonally or just normal. Hey, you're doing well. You need more space. Great. Take on another unit. You got 1,000 square feet, need another 500.
Yep.
Awesome. Super happy for you. Happy to be your partner in growth because now you can just take on another 500 square feet in the same park, likely.
That's great. Let's go. Joe, man, we could keep talking self-storage for a long time. But we do have to wrap up. So I got a couple last questions and then I'll give you an opportunity to talk to our listeners about how they can get in touch with you. But what's a mistake that you made? How have you learned from it?
Well, I didn't mind my kitchen in the first example, but I will tell you there is a follow up to that. I did it again,
Ooh,
and I did it in storage, and I did it when we were new, and we thought we had an expert who was a self proclaimed expert who was going to manage our facilities for us, and I could just
yep,
worry about growth.
yep,
And I, there's no excuse other than and there's really no excuse. The buck stops with me, and I swore I'd never make the mistake again, and I did. Um, at least there was 20 years between them, but that's no
there you go.
excuse.
Yeah,
But I didn't mind my kitchen in
mind your
in in
kitchen.
the operations of storage, in literally getting down to the nitty gritty of how you manage a facility and the rates and what you do in certain markets, et cetera. And I allowed someone who, frankly, it turned out really didn't know what they were doing, didn't have the experience they claimed to have, but more importantly, didn't understand what was happening in those markets. And this is 5, 6 years ago. So I did it again, and shame on me. It'll never happen again. So you have to mind your kitchen, whether that's a storage facility operations or the kitchen in a restaurant.
If you're anything like me, and I think most people are, it's easy to trust people, right? It's easy to feel like they've got a good story. They seem like a nice person. I think they're going to do great. And it's easy to trust people. And then what's I think even easier is to focus on what you think is good for the business and not focus or not put any effort into making sure that person actually checks all those boxes that you thought they maybe checked in the first place. So it's easy to do. I've done it plenty of times,
Yeah.
Joe, and you're not alone. You're in good company here because I've done it many times with people. I just trust them and I expect that they're going to do what they say they're going to do
Yeah. I
without
mean,
really
this time
verifying.
we caught it early, so I did learn
Yeah.
from the mistake, and we made changes, and it hurt us really badly in one facility. We're fine on the rest. We dug our way out. Didn't put us out of business. The first time put me out of business. So in that regard, at least I could say I
Yeah.
learned something. But yeah, you have to know what's going on, and you can't take your eye off the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What's your favorite book you can recommend to our listeners?
I used to say The Road Less Stupid, but I got a new one. Uh, Be Your Future Self Now,
Hmm.
Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Um, Absolutely mind blowing. Be Your Future Self Now, and it is. Have you read it?
No, I haven't. I've actually never heard of that one. Is it a newer one by him?
It's 4 years old. Do you know who Mr. Beast is?
Yeah.
I know who he is because I have kids. That's the only
Yeah,
reason.
that's exactly.
And all I knew of him before this book was he does some crazy. He got a lot of followers on YouTube. Does some crazy, anywhere from crazy to stupid to very charitable things on YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, but all seem to be harmless. But just no interest personally. The beginning of the book is about him and how he became so famous,
Hmm.
and it'll blow your mind.
Hmm.
It's. I'm gonna leave you with the cliffhanger. You need to read the book. It's incredible.
That's cool. I'm gonna go get it. Um, Three pillars of wealth creation. What are they?
The first one that immediately comes to mind is cash flow. This is wealth creation. You said
Yeah.
cash flow. I think a lot of times we have a tendency to chase the high dollar, long dollar, and that's important too.
Yeah.
But you may
What?
never see it if you don't build cash flow
Yeah.
and live
Amen.
by cash flow. Um, be curious would be number two. I got to where I am in distressed debt, in storage, because I was curious. I'm not saying I'm running off a cliff, or well, let's say it differently. I'm not saying I'm running into burning buildings necessarily, but when people are running out just because there's smoke and they're running out in droves, I'm curious as to why, what's going on, and what are they missing? I mean, when
Yeah.
I started our distressed debt business, we met with potential investors, people who we went to as investors because we thought they should understand this because they were real estate attorneys, for instance, and they were the ones that understood the least,
Hmm.
and they weren't curious, and
Hmm.
they were sure of their convictions, and they could not have been more wrong.
Yeah.
And the reason the opportunity I think exists in whole is because a lot of people weren't curious about it.
Yep.
It's been a great business for us, hobby really, because we can't control when they sell debt. That's why I got into storage. But the third pillar for me is not so much about me, but about the next generation. And that's long story short, we do this thing in our self storage academy where we teach people to buy self storage. We have this moonshot. We go around, we talk about what's your why, and a lot of people are there. And you've talked to people, I'm sure, on this podcast or in life. You said, "What's your why? Why do you do this? What do you?" And a
Well,
lot of people say to create generational wealth.
yeah.
And there was this one night I stole this from a guy. I'd never heard it before, and it actually redefined me and everything that I'm doing. It's not. We all know about businesses that are handed down to the next and third generation, or trust fund. The trust fund kids, or
Yep.
they're a lot of times they're problems. They're drug addicts. They're whatever. Wealth, creating wealth or generational wealth isn't necessarily about money, dollars, or assets. It's about knowledge transfer. If you can transfer the knowledge to your kids of
Yeah.
how to create their own wealth, survive, create their own cash flow first, but then create their own wealth, that survives into perpetuity. That is wealth creation. To me, that is perpetual wealth creation, is that knowledge transfer in whatever way you want to do it with that next generation or siblings. It doesn't have to go just down. It could go sideways. But to me, That is so powerful. And that to me should absolutely be a pillar. And it starts with you.
Yeah.
You have to invest in
Yeah.
yourself and acquire and obtain the knowledge
Yeah. You
so
got to
you can
always keep
invest.
growing. Right. Yeah. The leaving the knowledge legacy versus the money legacy. I like that.
The money can
That's
run
awesome.
out. The knowledge never theoretically should.
Yep. Yep. That's good. Joe, last question. How can our listeners get in touch with you, learn more about what you've got going on? You've got the educational platform. You've got obviously the investing platform. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, single point of contact way to reach me is just email. Joe at belroseam.com. I'll spell it. It's BELROSE. A is an asset, M is in management.com.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes too. Joe, look, man, I really appreciate you joining us on the show. A lot of good stuff, good lessons learned. Uh, and I love talking about the niches within the niches. I think that's really cool. And I think that's where the profit's really made. That's where you differentiate yourself from everybody else, is when you can find the niche within the niche. You can find your kind of what's your little secret sauce that makes you unique, makes your company special. I think that's where the real magic starts to happen.
I couldn't agree more. I love it. It's more fun. It's more interesting. You get to be more creative. And if you're not in niches, sometimes, no, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but sometimes you're in a commodity or more commoditized scenario. And now you're just, how can I have better margins versus
Yep.
how can I create wealth or,
Yeah.
figure out a better way to do something that's going to be fun and create more money for me you know, than just try to be 1% better.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Well, you take care. Have a fantastic rest of the day.
Todd, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. Say, I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. But your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.